Good morning, my church. It's Monday, and if you're wondering why you're seeing me on Monday instead of on Saturday, it's because my day of the week to do devotionals has changed to Monday. We felt like that was a good day, and we sort of had a hole on Mondays anyway, and so from now on, you'll be seeing my devotionals on Monday morning. So, as you know, this week is Mother's Day. This coming Sunday is Mother's Day. If you haven't thought about that, go buy your mom a gift really quick. Run out and do it right now. Pause this video, come back and watch it when you're done. But since this week is Mother's Day, I just wanted to do my devotional in a way that's maybe a little unusual for Mother's Day. And the reason it's unusual is because I'm going to go to a text that we don't normally think about as a text about mothers. But I think it's important, and I think that God has put this here for a reason. So let's go to 2 Kings chapter 14, and I'm going to read a couple of different passages, but they're fairly close together. You'll be able to follow if you want to follow along. So I'm in 2 Kings chapter 14, and I'm just going to start off the chapter. And it says this: In the second year of Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, Joahaz, king of Israel, Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah, began to reign. He was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. Now, here's a key phrase that's coming up here. The next line is the thing I want to focus in on today. And that is this. It says, his mother's name was Jehoaddin of Jerusalem. And he did what was right in the sight of the Lord, yet not like David, his father. Let me read you one more example from chapter 15. In chapter 15, it says this: In the 27th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, Azariah, the son of Amaziah, king of Judah, began to reign. He was 16 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 52 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jechaliah of Jerusalem. Again, his mom is mentioned in the text. And he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, according to all that his father Amaziah had done. So let me ask you this. Why is it that in the book of Kings and Chronicles, as you go through the Old Testament, these chronicles of the kings of Israel and Judah from the divided kingdom, when you read through that, some of the kings have their mothers mentioned? And I think that it's because God wanted to point out something. You could say that it's about genealogy, that God wanted to point out that, this line of people was merging with this line of people, and that was the line of the king. And in some cases, that's valuable. But if that were the case, then all the kings would have their mothers mentioned in the text. And that's not what happened. It's the good kings that have their mothers mentioned in the text. Let me read you one other example. And that example is of Hezekiah. And if you've heard of any king other than King David and King Solomon, you've probably heard of Hezekiah. He's another great king in the history of Israel. He was one of the best kings that Judah actually had during the divided kingdom. He ruled the southern kingdom of Judah, while the northern kingdom was divided from the southern kingdom. So it says this: In the third year of Hoshea, son of Elah, king of Israel, and this is chapter 18, if you want to follow along. Chapter 18. In the third year of Hoshea, king of Elah, king of Israel, Hezekiah, the son of Ahaz, king of Judah, began to reign. He was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. Then here's that key phrase again. His mother's name was Abi, the daughter of Zechariah, and he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord. So here's what I think is going on. I think this is God's way in the text of saying, I see you, Mom. I see what you're doing. And it's good. You deserve some recognition for what you're doing. And of course, these are grown men who make their own choices and have to live by the consequences of their own choices, and they're responsible for what they did. The bad kings had mothers too. But in this case, I think this is a way for God to point to some women who worked hard to raise godly men. They did their job of raising their children without much recognition. But here, in these cases, when these men rose to power, in the text, God recognizes them. Abby didn't have a book. We don't read the book of Abby. We don't read a huge story about what Abby did and how her life went. But we do see here that one of the greatest kings in the history of God's people is mentioned in the text here. And as he's mentioned, God points out his mother's name was Abby. And she deserves some recognition. So let me just say to you today, Mom, what you're doing is valuable. And I want you to know that what you're doing, whether you get recognition now or not, is important. So raise your children to follow Jesus. Raise your children to be men and women of God. Because even if no one around you sees it, God sees it. God saw what Abby was doing, that she was raising a godly man. And eventually she did get her recognition. But most mothers who raise godly men don't get recognition in the Bible. They just do their job. And they teach their children to love God. And they're rewarded in eternity. And I think they are richly rewarded. I had a fantastic mom. I still have a fantastic mom. She made choices when I was a kid that I didn't understand, but she sacrificed so that we could have things and she wouldn't have those same things. She made choices that made our lives better, even when we disagreed with those choices. And I love my mom. I think she did a great job. But I think sometimes moms are tempted to think, my job that I'm doing is insignificant. And I'm here to tell you that it is not insignificant. One of the greatest leaders of God's people in history is mentioned here, and God didn't let it go by without mentioning his mom. So if you're not a mom, call your mom and tell her how much you love her. If you are a mom, I want to tell you, your children love you whether they've said that or not. And what you've done is an amazing, amazing job. You've done well, and God sees what you've done, and he will reward you. So take that into this week. Buy your mom something great for Mother's Day. Appreciate her, love her, and have a great week this week.